Hello, my fellow people, fans, brothers, sisters, friends, family members, all of you who are looking. I want to thank you again for looking at this video and to take the time out to learn more about Islam and Muhammad and the reason why I leave Islam. Well, I have tons of reasons. I can't give you all of them one time, but I will give you a few. And we're going to return to the Quran. These are the reasons why I read the Quran. And people are saying, read the Quran, you will find the answer. Well, I read the Quran 6 times, and these are the answer I find. I have doubts. So, I will begin from from chapter 2, verse 23, which says, if you have doubts about our revelation to our servant Muhammad, doubts on this revelation that was revealed to Muhammad, call on your martyr. If you have doubts about our revelation to our servant Muhammad, if you have the doubts about this revelation about Muhammad, call on your martyrs. And the Quran used the word shuhadikum. It should be called your partners, which is another word, which is another Arabic word named shurakum, as no one would call on a dead person. So the Quran is really saying, if you have doubts about this, call on the dead person to witness. How can you call on a dead person to witness? When you go to a crime scene, can you call a dead person? You have to call the living person, right? Well, anyway, that's a contradiction of the Quran. Let's go to chapter 86, verse 7. Now it's talking about human sperm, so let's go. Human sperms originated from between the back and the rib, which contradicts the science of embryology, which stresses that human sperms originated from the testicles. So what is the Quran saying here? It's totally contradicting to science, and which is a clear contradiction to what we're talking about. We can go again to chapter 4, verse 7 to 8 and 7 to 9. Verse 7 to 8 says that all actions, good and evil, come from God, while the verse 7 to 9 says good come from God, while evil comes from human. Obvious contradiction here, right in one, just one verse apart. It's amazing. And this is so crazy. If we go to chapter 2, verse 6 and 7, says God blinds the unbelievers as he closed their hearts and their vision and their hearing. Why can you people tell me, why would a loving God, right, why would a loving God who wants everyone to believe do that? Why would he blind the eyes of the unbelievers? Why? Can you believe that? And look at chapter 2, verse 10 says the kuffars, unbelievers, if you don't know, kuffars are Christian Jews, idolaters. The kuffars are sick in their hearts, and God increased their sickness. Isn't this God crazy? Can you believe this? Is this logical that God would increase their sickness instead of healing them? Wouldn't God want to save us? Wouldn't you want to save your child if something is happening to them? Wouldn't you want to, this is so sick. And more as I read at chapter 2, verse 264, it says, God does not guide the kuffars. Really? Isn't like a physician. It's not like a physician who would not treat a sick person who need guidance. Who need guidance? Who really need guidance? Is Muslim need guidance? If they're already Muslims, how would they need guidance, right? And look what it says. God does not guide the kuffar. In chapter 2, verse 264 says this. Look, let's go to another chapter. Chapter 4, verse 88. Do you want to guide those? Do you want to guide those that God had misled? Is that possible? How the loving God, how the all-loving God would mislead his own creatures? Can you believe your parents misleading you, or your parents put weed in front of you and then tell you don't smoke it? Man, this is crazy. And look now, we're going to chapter 6, verse 149. If God wishes, he would have guided all of you. Status quota proven that God did not wish to guide all of us. Obviously, he did not want to guide everyone. He did not want all of us to believe. It says right there in chapter 6, 149. It says it. That God, if he wished, he would have guided all of us, but he don't want to guide all of us. Right? So that's why I guess the Muslim is killing the rest who are not guided. Look, chapter 13, verse 33. If God misleads his creature, no one can guide them. Again, it is possible that the most loving and merciful, how is this possible that the most loving and merciful God does not want anyone else to guide them? If God mislead me, you can't guide me. Oh, that's, forget about my faith, it's sealed. Look at chapter 14, verse 4. God misleads whoever he wants and guide whoever he wants. Aren't we here witnessing racism when he is being selective in guidance? This God is selecting who he wants to guide and who he wants to mislead. This God hate me from soon I begin birth, because he didn't guide me. Well, maybe he did. He guided me and then he mislead me. You see, it's not my fault, it's God's fault. Look at it logically. Come on. You guys have a college education, you can figure this out. If you have a GED, you can figure this out. You don't even have to have a college education. This is common sense, farm knowledge, common. Look at it. Chapter 91, verse 8. God inspires human, their good and evil. If God is his unlimited capacity inspire good and evil in all beings, then we are either doomed or saved right from the beginning. We have no other alternative. Repentance means nothing when such decision was already made. So no matter how much you pray 20 times a day, 5 times a day, you can pray Fajr, you can pray Zuhar, you can pray Asr, you can pray Maghrib, you can pray Isha, you can even go and pray Tahajjud, Tarabi, whatever you want to go and pay. Look, God already says this in chapter 9, in chapter 91, verse 8. He says that if he inspire good and he inspire evil, we're doomed already, or we're already blessed. Look at chapter 23, verse 12 to 14. In the Quranic, embryology at this stage is reached when it becomes bone. Then the bones are dressed with flesh. Ignoring the course that two flesh and bones are developed simultaneously in the human body. Look at this. Look. Forget that. Come on. Look at chapter 17, verse 1. Muhammad visit Al-Aqsa. The problem is that there was no Masjid Al-Aqsa, nor any other masjid during the lifetime of Muhammad since he entered Palestine. Since Islam entered Palestine, after Ibn Umar Ibn al-Kitab conquered Palestine after the death of Muhammad, Masjid Al-Aqsa was built almost 60 years after the death of Muhammad by Marwan bin Abdul Malik. How can the Prophet visit Masjid Al-Aqsa when there were no Masjid Al-Aqsa at that time? Can you believe this, people? Look in your own eyes and you will see. I can go with tons of this, and I guess I'll have to make a next video. But before I go to the next video, let me give you this one. Chapter 23, verse 14 says, bless Allah, the best of all creator. Of all creators. Look at this. I wish to say all creator, but it's all creators. How many creators do we have? Look at it. Verse 23. Are you praying to idol? Look at it. It says there, blessed of Allah, best of all creators. How many creators do we have? That's chapter 23, verse 14. I'll have to stop here, and I will see you in the next video.